What's up, Savages and Savages in the making? It's your boy BlackBelt Jones, and today I'm going to go over the Lion Killer Choke, aka the RNC, the Rear Naked Choke, or the Sleeper, because you put people to sleep with it, right? We call it the Lion Killer Choke because in Brazil it's actually called the Mata-Leão, which translates to Lion Killer Choke, okay? The Lion Killer Choke is a blood choke. When it comes to chokes, there are three kinds of chokes. You have blood chokes, air chokes, and hybrids, okay? An example of a blood choke is the Lion Killer Choke. And if you have a deep enough guillotine as well, like a high elbow guillotine, that is also considered a blood choke because we're blocking off the carotid arteries. And when you're doing that, you are restricting blood flow to the brain, and you're also messing with the nervous system that surrounds the carotid arteries, okay? When you are doing an air choke, we are attacking the trachea, the front of the neck, okay? And it will be different finishing mechanics depending on the choke that I'm trying to complete, okay? But for today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on having back control, and then once we have back control, we're going to establish, a basic choke from back control. All right, guys, like I said before, when we're doing a blood choke, I am specifically trying to attack the carotid arteries, okay? So what I'm going to do is, for the Lion Killer, is I'm going to get my bicep to block off this carotid artery, and then my forearm to block off this carotid artery. And I'm referencing choking with my left hand. If I was doing my right hand, it would be the opposite. My bicep would block off this artery, and then my forearm would block off this artery, okay? So like I said, I'm gonna get deep. I'm gonna put my bicep on that artery, and I wanna bring my forearm around to block off the other artery. The way that you know that you are deep enough for this choke is gonna be your elbow placement. My goal is going to be to line up my elbow with my opponent's chin. So bicep, elbows lined up, I am deep. If I am off a little bit more towards the bicep side, you see that I am no longer with my elbow underneath her chin. I am no longer fully blocking off this side of the neck. It is no longer going to be a complete blood choke. It's going to turn into a hybrid, or I'm going to have to go to start attacking the trachea and the windpipe. I want a blood choke though, okay? So I'm going to be deep, bicep on one side, elbow's going to line up underneath the chin, boom. And then I'm going to lock it in by grabbing my bicep, taking my hand, I'm going to snake it behind her head. And I'm going to hold here. So the key to back control, a lot of people get caught up in the power battle with the hands, okay? What's really keeping your opponent locked in is your legs. We're going to call these our hooks, okay? I have to, once I get the back, and there's a lot of ways to get to the back position, but we're just going over the control once we get there right now. I'm going to establish my hooks. Do not cross your feet, okay? This is a no-no. There is one time that I am allowed to cross my feet, but when you're first learning, don't do it. Okay? I'm going to establish my hooks, and my hooks have to be active. They're not just sitting here on her, because if I'm being lazy with my feet, she easily is going to peel them off, and then she's going to turn into me, she's going to hop in, and I'm going to lose control, and I'm going to end up going to my back and having to fight from the guard position. We don't want to do that because we have back control, which is like the best position in the game, so let's do something with it. So once again, I get my feet in, don't cross them. My feet are here and they're active, they're biting in. What I'm looking for is the space between her knees and her hip. I want to dominate that right there, her inner thighs right here with my feet, okay? Then with my hands, I'm going to get an overhook and an underhook. Okay, it's going to be like a seatbelt. Click, click, that's the control I want. Overhook and underhook, okay? And there's different ways you can grip your hands. You can have this hand on top, you can have this hand on top, you can gable grip. There's all kinds of things you can do, and each of those hand positions are going to lead to an attack sequence or series. But for right now, we're just going to go overhook, underhook, and connect the hands, okay? Once I do this, I also want to make sure, once again, my feet are active and I am tight to my opponent. If I give my opponent any space, they're going to be able to blast out of the position, they're going to turn into me, and I'm going to lose the ability to choke them successfully. All right, guys, so again, once I get to the back, I need to establish control. There's a lot of ways that we can get to the back, but we're just talking about locking in the position now. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that my feet are in, my hooks are in and they are activated. My feet are not crossed. This is going to lead to trouble later on. Again, there is one time that I do cross my feet. Right now is not that time, okay? So feet, hooks activated, and then I want an overhook and an underhook, and I want to be tight into my opponent, okay? If I am loose and I'm giving my opponent space, they're going to be able to turn into me and then get back to guard. Turn into me, boom, underneath, boom, and then now I have to fight off my back, and you better have a good guard game at this point because it's a different fight now. Okay guys, once we have established back control, one more time, hooks are in, activated. I have an overhook and an underhook. Now it is always going to be superior and in my favor if I drop to the side. When we're working for the lion killer choke, okay, or the RNC, what I want to do is I want to drop to the side that I have the overhook on. If I drop to the underhook side, it's much more difficult to choke my opponent and I'm going to have to switch to secondary attacks at that point. So from here, we have our back control established. Once again, seatbelt grip is in. I want to fall towards my overhook side. So I'm going to drop to that side. Boom. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to take the hand that's on top. I'm going to make sure I'm deep. I want to get the bicep on the one carotid artery. Get my forearm on the other artery. That's how I know that I'm on those arteries because my elbow is underneath the chin. Now what I'm going to do is the hand that has the underhook is now going to come out. I'm going to grab my bicep, take that same hand, and I'm going to snake it behind her head. And then I can get my finish. I'm going to show you guys some keys to getting the finish there from the lion killer, okay? So once my bicep is on the one artery and my forearm is on the other, and I'm in perfect alignment, I'm going to take my arm out from the underhook, grab my bicep, snake it behind the head, okay? So if you look, I've made this little like triangle space right here. Your opponent's neck has to survive in this space, okay? I'm going to do everything in my power to make that position as tight as possible, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back hand, close my fist, and I'm going to scrape forward. Watch what happens to the space as I scrape forward. It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. There is no human being alive that I know of that can survive in that space, okay? So once again, I have back control. I'm going to drop to my overhook side. I'm nice and tight, drop into my overhook side. My arm is deep, elbow underneath the chin, slide the secondary hand out, grab your bicep, snake, make that little triangle space, and then as I squeeze, I'm going to scrape forward like I showed you guys a second ago.
Tap.
Super, super tight finish. One of the keys to being more successful with your finish is going to be the timing of it. I like to snake my hand. I like to go from the seatbelt grip to snaking my hand around the neck as I'm dropping. Because sometimes as you fall onto your side, the person's weight is on your arm and it's going to be difficult to feed that arm through. Especially if your opponent is good at defending the neck or they're really, really strong or they're shrugging their shoulders, whatever it may be. They're trying to hide their neck from you. So we're going to want to catch them a little bit with the element of surprise if we can. If you guys will notice, a little trick, a little extra bonus point that I'm doing there is whatever side I have the overhook on, my head is on the opposite side. So when I have my seatbelt grip, if my left arm is over their shoulder, my head is going to be over their right shoulder. If it was reversed, my right arm was over the shoulder, my head is going to be on the left side. In order to be successful with your choke, you want to have your head on the opposite side. So I'm here. Overhook is my left, I'm over the person's right, okay? So now when I drop, it's helping to trap them and keep them in place. And then I can also use my head to help push in. And it makes the choke worse. All right guys, so feet activated, seatbelt grip, head is on the opposite side, and then we go for our finish. All right, guys, so that was the basics of getting the lion killer, aka the RNC choke. from the back control position. There are different ways that you can apply chokes from the back. This is just probably the most commonly seen one, and hopefully you got some tips from it to improve your game a little bit. So that's it for now. There's going to be more advanced stuff coming down on the channel. I can show you superior ways to be able to lock somebody in once you do get the back. I can also talk about the one time that I do cross my feet when I'm behind somebody's back. But that's not today. For right now, this is my gift to you. So there you go.